Welcome back to the deep dive. You really weren't kidding when you said you wanted the full picture on AI and leadership. Articles, research papers, even a whole YouTube panel discussion. Color me impressed.
Yeah, it's a hot topic, that's for sure. And what I find fascinating is how AI isn't just changing the tasks leaders have to do, but it's changing how they think. Like, we're moving from this idea of the leader as the expert to the leader as orchestrator.
Orchestrator. Okay, I like that. But first, I got to ask about this term AI washing that kept popping up in that YouTube video. It seems like every company out there is slapping an AI label on everything these days. Coca-Cola claiming AI developed their new flavor. Apple hyping AI features that weren't even ready at launch. I mean, come on. Have we officially hit peak AI hype?
Maybe. But that just makes it even more important for leaders to cut through the noise, to figure out what's real, what's fluff. AI is a powerful tool, no doubt, but it's not about replacing good leadership. If anything, it's about amplifying it.
Yeah, and one expert on that panel actually said leadership becomes more important in this AI-driven world, not less, which at first sounds kind of counterintuitive, right?
It does, but it makes sense when you think about it. I mean, sure, AI can crunch numbers, spot trends, maybe even write a decent email for you. But the stuff that really matters, vision, empathy, building trust, AI can't do that. That's still on us.
So how does AI change leadership styles then? I know the panel talked about moving away from that leader-knows-all model, which honestly feels pretty outdated already, right? Information overload and all that.
Right. Leaders have to be comfortable with not always having all the answers. And for some, that's a huge mental shift. It's more about being a facilitator of knowledge, not a hoarder of it.
One expert used the phrase crowdsourcing wisdom, which, I don't know, sounds amazing, but how does that actually work? In the real world, I mean.
Well, think about it this way. It's like harnessing the collective intelligence of your whole team. AI can help by quickly surfacing insights, relevant information, pulling it from all over your organization. But it's the leader who creates the space for those ideas to be shared, debated, actually used.
So less top-down pronouncements and more, I guess, creating an environment where everyone can bring their ideas to the table, where those diverse perspectives can actually flourish.
Exactly. And that actually ties into this whole idea of AI-powered coaching, which brings us to Hey Vicky.
Oh yeah, they could not stop talking about that platform. HeyVicky.com. For anyone listening who wants to check it out. But what's so revolutionary about it? Give us the rundown.
Imagine being able to give every single employee personalized coaching, development plans tailored just for them, even if you've got a massive company. That's the promise of Hey Vicky scalable mentorship powered by AI.
It's mind-blowing because traditional mentoring just can't keep up, can it? Especially not at that scale.
Exactly. And it's not just generic advice either. Hey Vicky's built on a proven coaching methodology, the human model, developed by a coach with like 20 years of experience. So you're getting this really solid human wisdom, but combined with AI's ability to personalize it at scale. It's pretty amazing.
They were raving about the Genius Writer feature too. Imagine having an AI that can help you write that perfect email or, nail that big presentation.
Think bigger. What if it helps you articulate your vision for your team? Or refine your communication strategy? That's where the real leadership impact comes in.
They mentioned it uses things like people analytics, AI-driven learning to create these custom plans. Is that pulling data from your calendar, your emails, like all that stuff?
It can. It can integrate with various systems to get a holistic view of the person, their strengths, weaknesses, development needs. The cool thing is it's constantly learning and adapting just like a human coach would.
So no more generic training sessions. Everyone gets a custom tailored development plan. It's kind of a dream, isn't it?
Yeah. It is. Of course, it's early days for this tech, but the potential is huge.
Okay, but here's what I'm wondering. We've got this super sophisticated AI coaching platform, helping leaders develop their skills, providing support to their teams. But what about the human side of all this? Are people just going to blindly follow whatever the AI tells them to do?
That's where the human leader becomes even more crucial. It's about creating a culture of trust, transparency, where people feel comfortable questioning the AI, using their own judgment.
So it's like AI is a tool, right? To augment human decision-making, not replace it entirely.
Exactly. Think of it like having a super smart advisor. But ultimately, you're still the one in charge. You're the leader.
They also talked about how AI could help us identify our own biases, the things we don't even realize we're doing. I'd love to hear more about that.
Isn't that fascinating? Imagine an AI that analyzes your communication patterns, points out those subtle biases you might not even be aware of. That could be incredibly valuable, especially for leaders trying to create more inclusive, equitable workplaces.
So it's not just about AI making us better at our jobs. It's making us better leaders, better people even. That's pretty powerful.
It is, and it speaks to how AI can transform not just organizations, but ourselves.
This is getting deep. I'm already seeing AI in a whole new light. But what about the people who are resistant? You know, the ones who are afraid of the robots taking over.
That's a natural human reaction, right? Change is scary, especially when it involves technology, this powerful, this mysterious. I think it all comes down to education and communication.
So leaders have to be transparent, explain how they're using AI, what the benefits are for everyone, not just the bottom line.
Exactly. Help people understand it's not a threat. It's a tool that can empower them to do their jobs better, learn new skills, build a more fulfilling career.
And maybe even free up some time to focus on the stuff that really matters, like creativity, innovation, the things that make us uniquely human.
That's the dream, right? To use AI to unlock human potential and create a more human-centered workplace.
Speaking of the human side of things, the panel got pretty intense when they discussed the ethics of AI-driven layoffs. One expert even suggested employees should take the initiative to learn about AI and upskill themselves because, well, companies might not always have their best interests at heart.
Yeah, that was a sobering part of the conversation for sure. It highlights the need for ethical, compassionate leadership, especially when it comes to these AI-driven changes. It's not just about efficiency and profits, it's about people's lives, their livelihoods.
It seems like a lot of companies are jumping on the AI bandwagon without really thinking it through. There's this tension between using AI to cut costs and, keeping your employees happy and motivated.
Absolutely. And they use that example of Clara AI, right? Laid off 700 customer service employees thinking their chatbot could handle it, then had to scramble to hire some back when it turned out the tech wasn't quite ready.
It's a good reminder that technology should serve humanity, not the other way around.
Couldn't agree more. And that leadership isn't just about embracing new tech, it's about using it wisely, ethically.
So what does that look like in practice?
Yeah.
How can leaders make sure AI is benefiting everyone, not just the company's bottom line?
That's the million-dollar question, and one we'll be digging into a lot deeper in this deep dive. But for starters, I think it begins with recognizing that AI is a powerful tool. It can be used for good or it can be used in ways that are harmful. The choice is ours.
I love that. It's a choice, not destiny. And it's a choice we're making every single day with every decision. This is already so thought-provoking. I can't wait to dive into how AI is changing the way we learn, the future of work itself. Stay with us.
You know, one of the most exciting areas where AI is making a real difference is in learning and development. It's like personalized education on steroids.
The YouTube panel talked a lot about that micro-learning, these AI-powered platforms. And we've discussed Hey Vicky quite a bit. But zoom out for us. What's the big picture? How is AI transforming how we learn, how we grow?
Well, think back to how most of us have traditionally learned things. You've got your long lectures, generic training materials, this very one-size-fits-all approach. And AI has the potential to completely flip that on its head. It's about delivering the right information to the right person at the right time in a way that actually keeps them engaged.
So no more of those boring company-wide presentations where half the people are zoning out because it's not even relevant to their work.
Exactly. And it goes way beyond just changing the delivery method, too. Imagine AI tracking your progress, figuring out what you're good at, where you struggle, then suggesting entire learning paths based on what you specifically need.
Almost like having a built-in career coach right there in your computer.
Yeah.
No wonder everyone was so excited about Hey Vicky.
Hey Vicky is a perfect example of how AI can make that kind of personalized coaching accessible to everyone. But it's really just scratching the surface. We're seeing these AI-powered learning platforms popping up everywhere, from healthcare to finance to education. The possibilities are endless.
So if it's changing how we learn, what does that mean for the future of work itself? I mean, are we all going to be working from home in our pajamas, learning new skills on apps all day long?
Well, the traditional 9-to-5 office job is definitely changing, that's for sure. We're already seeing more remote work, the gig economy, all of that, and AI is just accelerating that trend.
Yeah, one expert in the video said something that really stuck with me. They said the career ladder is becoming more like a jungle gym. It's not just about climbing straight up anymore. You're moving laterally, learning new skills, changing roles, even switching entire industries much more frequently.
It's definitely a more fluid, adaptable way of working, which makes a lot of sense in a world driven by AI and rapid innovation.
It sounds exciting, but also kind of scary. I mean, how can leaders prepare their teams for this kind of future? It can't just be about buying some new software and calling it a day.
You're absolutely right. It really has to start with cultivating a culture of continuous learning. You know, encouraging your team to experiment with new technologies, giving them space to try new things, even fail sometimes. Make it clear that learning and growth are the most valuable assets they have.
So it's less about those formal training sessions and more about creating an environment where people feel comfortable learning new skills organically.
Exactly. And help them understand that job security in this new world isn't about clinging to one specific role or one company. It's about that ability to adapt and learn new things. Their skills become the most valuable thing.
I remember one expert mentioned T-shaped skills, which I thought was a really interesting concept. Did you explain that to our listeners?
Sure. So picture the letter T. That vertical line represents deep expertise in one specific area, your specialty. But that horizontal line is just as important. That's your broader understanding of other fields, your ability to collaborate across teams, to see the bigger picture.
So you're saying it's not enough to just be a specialist anymore. You need to be a little bit of a generalist too.
Exactly. And you know what? AI can actually help us develop those T-shaped skills. It gives us access to huge amounts of information. It connects us with people in different fields. It helps us build bridges between our specialties.
It's amazing to me how AI isn't just changing what we do, it's changing how we think. It's almost like it's rewiring our brains to be more adaptable, more creative, more collaborative.
That's a great point. And it brings us back to leadership, right? In this AI-driven world, what do you think are the most crucial qualities a leader needs to have?
Well, based on everything we've talked about, one thing that immediately jumps out at me is the ability to be comfortable with ambiguity. Things are changing so fast, the future's uncertain. Leaders can't cling to some rigid 5-year plan anymore. They have to be able to adapt quickly, pivot when needed, and not freak out when they don't have all the answers.
You hit the nail on the head. That's a big shift for a lot of leaders who are used to being in control, having all the answers, projecting this image of certainty. But in the age of AI, the most effective leaders are those who can embrace experimentation, iteration, even failure as a necessary part of the process.
That takes a certain level of humility, doesn't it? Being able to admit you don't have it all figured out, being willing to learn from mistakes.
Absolutely. And another quality that came up again and again in that panel discussion was curiosity.
Now that makes total sense. AI is constantly changing. New tools are popping up every day. If you as a leader aren't curious about those developments, you're going to fall behind.
Right. It's not enough to just understand the basic concepts of AI. Leaders need to be actively seeking out new information, playing around with new tools, constantly trying to stay on the cutting edge.
So it's not just about learning about AI. It's about learning with AI.
Exactly. And that curiosity needs to extend beyond just the technical stuff, too. You have to be curious about the human implications, the ethics, the impact this technology could have on society as a whole. It's about understanding that AI isn't some abstract concept. It's a force that's shaping the future of humanity.
And using our leadership to make sure it shapes that future for the better. That's a powerful thought. So for our listener out there who's taking all of this in, what's a good first step they can take to start developing these leadership qualities?
Honestly, I think the best place to start is by embracing that curiosity. Don't let AI be this intimidating, mysterious thing you're afraid to touch. There are so many resources out there, articles, videos, online courses, even just downloading an AI app on your phone and playing around with it. Dip your toes in the water and start exploring.
Love that advice. We'll be back in a moment to wrap up this deep dive with some final thoughts for our listeners. Don't go anywhere. All right, so we've talked big picture, future of work, these essential leadership skills, but let's get practical. What can our listener actually do starting today to level up their leadership in this AI-powered world?
Well, I think picking up on that last point, the best place to start is by embracing that curiosity we were talking about. You know, don't let AI be this intimidating, mysterious thing you're too scared to even approach. There's a ton of resources out there, articles, videos. You can even take a free online course or just, download some AI apps on your phone and play around. Just dip your toes in and see what grabs your interest.
It's like that saying, every expert was once a beginner. You don't have to become a coding whiz overnight, but you do need that willingness to learn, to experiment, right?
Exactly. And beyond just learning about AI, start thinking about how you can use it in your own work. It doesn't have to be some big, complicated thing. Even something as simple as, like, using a smart assistant to manage your schedule or a grammar checker to make your writing sharper. That can give you a feel for how AI can boost your productivity.
It's about demystifying it, taking those baby steps and realizing it's not as scary or complicated as it seems. But what about the more human side of leadership? We talked about fostering that culture of continuous learning within a team. How do you actually do that?
It really comes down to creating an environment where people feel safe to experiment, to share their knowledge, to learn from each other, and, maybe most importantly, learn from their mistakes. So encourage that open dialogue, celebrate those failures as learning opportunities, and make it clear that learning, always growing, is not just valued, it's expected.
Which goes back to leading by example, right? If you, the leader, are visibly embracing these new technologies, trying new things, always pushing yourself to learn and grow, that sends a powerful message to your team.
Absolutely. Actions always speak louder than words. And don't be afraid to ask for help. No one expects you to become an AI expert overnight. But you should be able to identify the resources, the support your team needs to succeed in this new world.
We can't talk about AI without talking about ethics, can we? It's been a big part of this conversation. So for our listener out there, what can they do to make sure they're using AI responsibly, fairly?
Well, I think it starts with awareness. Really educate yourself about the potential biases that can creep into AI systems. Think about those unintended consequences that might arise. Then it's about taking a step back and saying, okay, am I using this technology in a way that aligns with my values, with the values of my organization?
It's about not just jumping on the latest trend, right? Not just implementing some new AI tool because everyone else is doing it. Take the time to understand how it works, what data it's using, what the potential impact could be, both good and bad.
Exactly. And be transparent with your team. Tell them how you're using AI, why you're using it, explain the benefits, address any concerns they have, be open to feedback. That transparency is so crucial. It builds trust and gets everyone on board.
It's funny. Transparency keeps coming up. It's like the foundation for everything else, isn't it? Trust, collaboration, making ethical decisions.
I couldn't agree more. And it's especially important in the context of AI, where there's so much potential for misunderstanding, fear, mistrust. Being open and honest about how you're using AI can make a world of difference in creating a more positive and productive environment for everyone.
This has been such a fascinating deep dive. You've given our listeners so much to think about, and even more importantly, some concrete steps they can take to become better leaders in this ever-changing world.
The pleasure was all mine. And it's important to remember, this is just the beginning, right? The field of AI is constantly evolving, which can be exciting and also a little bit scary. The key is to stay curious, stay engaged, stay open to new possibilities.
Well said. What really stood out to you from this conversation? For me, it's that image of leadership as orchestration. You're not just managing tasks anymore or telling people what to do. It's about creating an environment where human intelligence and artificial intelligence can really work together.
I love that analogy. It really captures what it means to be a leader in this new era, bringing together the best of both worlds to achieve extraordinary results.
And on that note, we'll leave our listeners with this one final thought. What kind of leader do you want to be in this AI-powered future?
It's a great question to ponder as we all navigate this exciting, uncharted territory. Until next time.